Welcome once again to the Fox 54 Weekend Review. I'm Kenesha Dees. It's the only place in North Alabama to get the week's local headlines condensed into one program. Here's a taste of what's ahead this hour. License plate cameras are coming to Madison. This week, the City Council approved the money to begin installing license plate readers in certain areas. But while that was a unanimous decision, there are still residents who think it's a step toward Big Brother. We'll explain. Limestone County is growing by leaps and bounds. What's the magic formula making it one of the fastest developing areas in the Yellowhammer State? And what are county leaders doing to keep infrastructure up to date? And the Crimson Tide are charging right along in the NCAA basketball tournament. And during their stopover in Cleveland this past week, our Simon Williams took a side trip to see some other Alabama legends who left their mark in a more musical fashion. All that and much more just ahead. Our top story this week, an attempted bank robbery in Florence leads to gunfire. The suspect dead and 2 bystanders injured. Our look at the past week starts off with Tuesday's breaking news alert. This just in out of Florence. You're looking at live video of Highway 72 near Bailey Springs Drive. You can see an active scene there. Law enforcement along that road more than 2 hours after Florence police officer and a bystander were shot. Traffic held up there. This follows a bank robbery. We have also learned that the gunman has been killed. This happened around 3 o'clock. A robbery led to a police chase that ended in a crash here right outside the Shoals Outdoor Sports along Highway 72. Again, you can see that backup traffic reduced to 1 lane.
Adam 3, we need a location. I need some medical. 2662, subject's down. 2669, it's hurt.
SWAT is en route. Do we have the location of the suspect? He's down.
You can hear the panic during those tense moments from police scanner traffic earlier today. All of this happening in the Shoals. Police say an officer and a bystander were injured following an armed bank robbery on Cox Creek Parkway in Florence.
We are learning new details about this officer-involved shooting, which just happened. You can see the situation kind of still here right off of US 72 going eastbound. Lauderdale County Sheriff Joe Hamilton tells me around 2:30 they received a call about a mentally disturbed person who might have been armed. This person ended up being the subject officials were talking about in that scanner sound that you just heard. And this happened about at a PNC bank, probably around a mile from where I'm currently standing. When officers arrived on scene, this person then fled, leading officials on a police car chase.
Spike strips were deployed. They did hit the strips, and on down the road, the vehicle lost control, wrecked out. At that point, the subject got out of the vehicle armed with a gun and began firing his weapon at the officers, at passerbys, and basically the Florence police officers and the deputies returned fire, and the suspect is deceased.
Officials have named 26-year-old Lewis Hill from Rogersville as the person who shot a Florence police officer and a bystander yesterday afternoon. That bystander also appearing as a first responder. Grace McCluskey is a firefighter with Center Star Fire Rescue, and she spoke with Fox 54's Gabe Glassman about those harrowing moments. Here's a listen.
Grace McCluskey stopped her car on US 72 to check on the crash which just happened. Moments later, the situation turned worse for her. Florence Police Department says this incident started at a PNC bank a mile away from the shooting scene. Grace McCluskey, a firefighter for Center Star Fire Rescue, stopped on the road when she saw the crash.
By the time I looked up from putting it in reverse, he was already pointing at that thing. Felt like 3 seconds, maybe 2, to kind of prepare. And which you don't really prepare in that situation.
Grace was then taken to the hospital. Her boyfriend, Jonathan Ade, is also a Center Star firefighter. He says he was on a separate call at the time.
Heard the initial response go out that shots had been fired. Did not understand that, of course, it was her. Saw my voicemail that she had left, and basically all I could hear was the words, "I've been shot, I've been hit, it's my shoulder."
Grace suffered a gunshot to her right shoulder. The bullet went in and out of her body, but fragments still remain. McCluskey was released from the hospital Tuesday night while investigators were still on scene. Grace says she's been shown immense support from her community in the time where it's much needed.
We like to think of Center Star Fire as basically one big family. At the end of the day, something happened and they really showed out. They showed up for us.
When I got out of the hospital yesterday, there was literally like 20 people waiting on me to get out. And then most of them went to their house or came to the house last night to make sure I was okay.
Grace and Jonathan say they're going to get through this together.
There's a million outcomes that could have happened, but we definitely got a better one. It could have been a lot worse, for sure.
Grace tells me she's also thankful for the immediate response from officers on scene to make sure she got quick treatment. From Florence, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
What a story of survival. The Florence police officer, still remains in the hospital, but he is in stable condition. The gunman, however, was killed at the scene yesterday. Huntsville city officials have launched a city-run tent sheltering program called South Derrick Camp. They say the initiative will provide structure and resources to the homeless population here in Huntsville. What we also know is it comes 6 months after a fire at the Derrick Street encampment displaced many of our unhoused neighbors there. The fire forced them to relocate further up the street. At the time, there was an expectation that they would be allowed to return, but now the city of Huntsville has taken a different approach. Fox 54's Kim McCoy has more on this new site that officials say will help curb homelessness in the city.
The city is taking a new, more structured approach to tackling homelessness, one designed to provide both stability and solutions.
What we've been doing is working to identify a safe space in which the individuals who have been residing there can return to, but also with a reset with some different expectations and different regulations, again, which makes it a safer environment.
The plan? A tent city, a designated area with a little over 70 spaces where individuals will have access to shelter and essential resources.
Each individual who is at the camp has a designated location to be, and also we'll be putting camps that we're providing on those locations. We will have more organizations to the continuum of care go through the camp, making sure that someone who needs assistance can actually work with someone to help them figure out what their next steps are.
But Erwin, is clear, this is not a long-term fix. The ultimate goal? To help people move beyond homelessness and into lasting stability.
Operating a homeless camp is not in the best interest of anyone. What is in their best interest is to give them a pathway to exit homelessness, and that is to figure out what resources they need, possibly what led them to life of being on the streets, and then working toward that end, whether it be through mental illness, addiction. Sometimes it could just be a broken family that we can find ways for family reunification. Each individual person has their own unique story, and we're trying to figure out how to help them move their life.
In addition to Tent City, local shelters will also be a part of the effort, providing extra spaces and resources to those in need. The city hopes that with the right support, many will not find just shelter, but a second chance. In Huntsville, Kim McCoy, Fox 54 News.
The city says it hopes to have move-ins into the refurbished space within the next 30 days. Limestone County is experiencing rapid growth, now ranked for the 4th time as the fastest growing county in the state. New businesses, families, and opportunities arriving every day. The county is bustling with change. However, as more people choose Limestone County for its vibrant community and strong economy, officials say that smart investments and utilities will ensure future growth is both successful and sustainable.
We always need to look at our utilities. When we talk about infrastructure, that's utilities, that's transportation. We have to continue to look at ways to improve that. And that's a funding issue. And so we're always challenged with making sure we have enough money to do that and that we prioritize our funds accordingly to meet those top priority needs.
The county experienced a population increase of more than 4,000 residents from July of 2023 to July 2024. Marking a close to 15% increase.
But what exactly is driving this rapid growth? We take a closer look at the factors that make Limestone County a great place to live, work, and grow.
Limestone County, a place for those who enjoy taking things a little slow.
So many people are moving into the region, and we're able to attract a lot of those people into our community because we have a little bit slower pace than perhaps a couple of our neighbors, and it's just a wonderful place to be.
But one thing that isn't slowing down, the number of folks calling Limestone County home. From July 2023 to July 2024, Limestone County added over 4,000 residents, and over the last 4 years have added over 15,000. So what makes the county so attractive? Well, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Number 1, Limestone County is home to many industry-leading jobs.
Jobs that are available in our area that would be easy to get to from this area obviously are probably the main attributing factor to that. Those companies locating here is even a bigger story in that this is such a great location due to this is a corridor for automotive industry, and Mazda Toyota came in and created a huge influx of need here for good skilled workers.
Second, the county offers ease of access to help folks enjoy quality of life amenities.
We also have the I-565 and 65 corridor that runs through Limestone County, so a transportation piece to that really enhances our appeal to the area because you can get places fast. And then also for the individuals, our quality of life has continued to increase. Things have been improved upon here with our community, and features and assets of our community have expanded.
And number 3, no matter what age or stage in life, residents have access to quality education.
We have an incredible education system from K-12 all the way to the university level with having stellar schools with both city and county and private school opportunities, but also with our 2-year college with Calhoun being based here, and then also Athens State. That gives people an opportunity to continue to improve their search for what they want to do when they grow up, and how can they continue to hone their skills.
Shockney says the county is working to make sure infrastructure improvements are properly being invested in as the county continues its growth.
All right, leaders in Limestone County expect growth to continue as more individuals and businesses recognize the area's economic opportunities, quality education, healthcare systems, and a strong sense of community.
The city of Madison has approved controversial new cameras for use by the Madison Police Department. Tonight, the Madison City Council has unanimously decided to fund new license plate recognition cameras around the city. The cameras will be placed in undisclosed spots around the city, allowing for the police department to track vehicles via a license plate. But some citizens were against the idea, citing potential privacy concerns. Michael Zeman was one of them.
I myself have mixed feelings due to the severity of both its merits and its drawbacks. The first important thing is to realize that we're not just buying an automatic license plate recognition camera system that the city of Madison can use to find unwanted vehicles. What's actually happening is we're allowing FLOC to install data collection systems throughout the city that send the data to FLOC.
FOX54 spoke with the Madison Police Department before the meeting with Captain Terrell Cook, saying that privacy will be kept in mind during system usage.
Whenever this database, the image goes into a search, we have to have a criminal case in order to search that. It has to be a crime. So this data is not going to be available to private investigators, private detectives, divorce attorneys, anything like that. Only in the case of a crime. The system physically makes us put a criminal case number into the system, and it tracks that before we can even conduct a search.
And today, we spoke to a Huntsville native who documents their location. Will Freeman is the administrator of dflock.me, which allows the public to document the location of FLOC cameras. Freeman told FOX54 that he believes the cameras are an invasion of privacy and that cities should tell the public where they will be located. Freeman added that he believes current policies in place are not enough.
They can legally search it for whatever reason they want. They can search it just because they don't like this person. Now that's against their policy most likely. If I get access to their policies, I can check that. They pretty much all come from the same company. But policies are not law, and this gives them basically unlimited access to perform searches and collect data on anyone driving by them.
FOX54 has reached out to FLOC Safety to discuss the cameras and how law enforcement would use them, and we have not heard back yet. The long-awaited immunity hearing for the former Decatur police officer accused of murder while on duty underway, and many hours later today, still no decision. The hearing for Mac Marquette was an all-day affair inside a Morgan County courtroom. Not over yet. The hearing will decide whether Marquette will go to trial later this year for the deadly shooting of Decatur resident Steve Perkins during a repossession incident gone wrong. Fox 54's Ken McCoy was inside that courtroom and has the latest from Decatur.
Keeping the peace. That's what officers involved say that they were expecting to do the night Steve Perkins was shot and killed in his front yard in Decatur. However, both claim they didn't expect things to turn deadly. Testimony got started just after 9:30 Tuesday morning. All-Star Recovery employee Caleb Combs was called to testify. He said he had been with the company just 2 months prior to the incident. He said the truck Perkins owned was called an advance tow, meaning it wasn't originally assigned to the company, but was eventually able to get the clearance to proceed with the tow. He said while trying to tow the vehicle, he heard the garage door opening. A man, being Perkins, came from under, pointed a gun at his chest, and told him to drop the truck. He stated he was then told to call law enforcement. Christopher McAdam was the first officer to respond. McAdam testified that he met with the tow truck driver in order to get more details about the situation. Once collected, he informed Combs that he had the option to report the incident the next day and have it go through the court. However, Combs declined on the basis that he didn't want to deal with the courts, but still wanted to get the car, but asked not to go by himself. That's when Officer McAdam then called for additional units, which included Officer Joey Williams and Defendant Mac Marquette. Once cleared by the supervisor, McAdam said they came up with a plan to escort Combs to the Perkins residence. All 3 officers arrived ahead of the tow truck. Body cam footage illustrates that Marquette and Williams stationed on the side of the house while Officer McAdams took station across the street facing the house. Williams stated that he didn't know Perkins was holding a gun until after shots were fired. The state argues that officers had the opportunity to make themselves known before the situation escalated, stating that if they were there to indeed try to keep the peace, there was a better course of action and that there were Alabama laws that prevent officers from getting involved in situations such as this. We'll continue to keep you updated as the trial continues. Wednesday's closing arguments covered a scope of things, including DPD's policy and procedures the night of the event. But in all, it came down to one simple question: were the actions of officers the night Steve Perkins was shot and killed lawful? The defense team for Mac Marquette argued that their client acted within the law during the repossession incident in question. They strongly contested the state's claim that Marquette and other officers had been assisting in the towing of a truck, suggesting that this characterization was inaccurate. They argued that violence was introduced to the situation by Perkins since he pointed the gun first. They said that if he had his gun by his side, it could have gone differently. The defense continued by arguing that officers had little time to react as the weapon was pointed directly at a uniformed law enforcement officer. On the other hand, the state argues that several actions by law enforcement officers, including Marquette, could have prevented the events of that night from unfolding. The state argued that officers were fully aware that the first attempt at repossession did not go well, and knowingly and willingly chose to introduce themselves and 2 civilians into a potentially dangerous situation. One key point made was that officers could have taken steps such as announcing their presence earlier to ensure that Perkins was fully aware of their presence, which could have diffused the situation. Judge Elliott, overseeing the hearing, took a more in-depth approach to ensure that both sides clearly understood each other's positions. He asked both the defense and the state to clarify their reasoning on the matter. In the process, multiple legal cases were referenced from the defense, including an Alabama Stand Your Ground case. Judge Elliott further pressed both sides to elaborate on how these cited cases applied to the issue at hand. At the close of the hearing, Judge Elliott emphasized the importance of thoroughly reviewing all the testimony and evidence before making a decision. He stated that he owed it to both sides to clearly evaluate everything before issuing a ruling. In Decatur, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
Thank you, Ken. There was no date or time given on when a decision will be made, but we'll keep you updated as the case continues. Owens Cross Road City Council voted to not renew the business license for a controversial Troubled Girls facility. Pathway of Madison County was set to close in October following a riot that raised concerns among city officials and police. City Clerk Christy Eason announced today that a majority vote from the City Council denied the renewal of the facility's business license. At the moment, this is all we know. The City Clerk added that more information will be released as it becomes available. You might have seen more traffic than usual earlier this evening. If you passed by Redstone Arsenal, it was foot traffic. Demonstrators just outside Gate 9 in Divisible, Alabama, is calling for more protection of federal workers. It's while the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, still planning for large-scale reductions to its countrywide workforce. Organizers are also calling for a meeting with Congressman Dale Strong, hoping to express their concerns.
The way the administration has gone about this, just with blanket layoffs and then having to turn around and reinstate people because it was illegal for them to make those layoffs that way, and then bringing people back to work, and there's no offices, and the whole thing has just been a complete chaos.
More than 50 people lined up on the side of the road near the Redstone Arsenal Visitor Center. Well, check this out. West Decatur Elementary School officials cut the ribbon today on a new way to get students into reading. This morning, the school showcased their brand new book vending machine. The machine is empty for now, but it will be stocked with books next week. It's also making reading more accessible for all students by providing books in both English and Spanish. The machine is meant to be a reward system that encourages positive behavior, good attendance, and students' achievements. West Decatur's PTO president, Keonta Hammond, explains how that system works.
Incentive is always a good thing. When kids see something they can actually reach for and it's obtainable, this is something that they can see it's obtainable. I can put a coin in and I can receive it right then and there. So it gives that immediate response. That's a good thing to have. So the kids are super excited. We're super excited.
What a cool incentive. Well, West Decatur isn't the only Decatur City school with this initiative. Austinville Elementary received its own book vending machine last week.
Now, Fox 54 Top Teacher, sponsored by Calhoun Community College.
I'm excited to introduce this top teacher. From what I've learned, she's a cheerleader and champion for her students inside her classroom and out. And you'll soon find out why. Meet this week's top teacher, Courtney Van Hoven from Holy Spirit Regional Catholic School. Welcome to.
And they separate for each constellation.
Courtney Van Hoven's 5th grade class.
I love trying to make a difference with the kids and seeing them grow and change and finding exciting moments as they learn.
Courtney teaches 5th graders and was drawn to Holy Spirit Regional Catholic School because of her grandmother.
Very, very strong in her faith as a Catholic and has taught us a lot about bringing that into life.
It's Van Hoven's 4th year at Holy Spirit Regional, and she brings joy in and outside her classroom through cheer.
I just found an outlet with, actually it was a fellow parent and teacher that was here, and we found it was a good thing to kind of bring these girls together who maybe aren't really the basketball player or the soccer player, still wanted to be on a team and work with other people and help build their confidence.
Just ask one of her students and cheerleaders, Stella Braden.
Miss Van Hoven definitely deserves this because she is the best teacher ever. It's very fun because when we end practice and there's enough time, we play games, and we always have dances to perform at the pep rallies and the basketball games.
Principal Regina Duffy believes it's her dedication to education that stands out.
Miss Van Hoven's greatest asset is her love of her students and her dynamic teaching. She goes above and beyond to work with them throughout the day, and her extracurricular activities, being the cheer coach and being at all the afternoon sports events well into the evening, is unstoppable.
With bringing faith into lessons, I want to teach the students that they don't have to do things independently on their own, that even when they're nervous, they can go to prayer, they can lean on their faith to help them grow.
Congratulations, Courtney. We've got more of her. We'll air our Meet the Teacher on Fox 54 Plus. Download on your TV, watch for free. Also, visit fox54.com to nominate more teachers. Well, it seems like this. Any violence is tough to accept. But overall, here in Huntsville, is crime on the rise. Huntsville police are pushing back on that notion. The latest statistics, they say, show that the city of Huntsville is as safe as it's ever been. Let's start with some important numbers. Despite population growth of 20% over the past 5 years, data from 2019 to 2024 shows that major crime rates had actually decreased by 26%, and violent crimes have dropped 39%. Fox 54's Ken McCoy shows us what's driving that decline.
Despite a 3% increase in population last year, HPD reports a 3% decrease in crimes across the board in 2024. From property crimes to violent offenses, crime in Huntsville has been trending down. Perhaps most notably, the number of homicides dropped to 18 last year. It's the lowest on record since 2020. What's even more encouraging is that investigators solved 17 of those cases.
I want you to understand that just because we have seen I get to say the fruit of our labor, we're not sitting here beating our chest saying, look what we did. We're saying that from the perspective of hey, violent crime is down, crime is down, but we'll continue to work just as hard, if not harder, to make sure that continues to stay that way.
One key takeaway is the partnership between the police and the community. Residents and businesses are playing an active role in keeping Huntsville safe.
The community is the key. If we don't have a relationship with your community, none of this happens at all. And so people give information, and then we respond to that information and try to make sure that we are helping our community partners.
HPD says the improvements are the result of targeted strategies, incorporating advanced technology in crime prevention, enhancing collaboration with state and federal agencies, and a continued focus on community-centered policing. Altogether, they have a significant impact on public safety.
When it comes to technology and police work, mind you, we are law enforcement, and arresting someone isn't always what we look forward to doing. It's not always the answer. That's why we have all these other resources like the collaboration with other departments within the city and the infrastructure with the jobs and whatnot that they've just talked about. But when it comes to this technology, when we actually utilize it for law enforcement, it's helped bring together the investigative element to find the needle in the haystack.
HPD says it remains focused on sustaining these results by improving safety through innovation and continued collaborations with both law enforcement and the public. In Huntsville, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
HPD says response times improved as well. Depending on the time of day, it's roughly about 6 minutes from the time calls to dispatch to the time the officer arrives on the scene. The U.S. government revoking the temporary legal status of more than 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. It was a humanitarian parole program known as CHNV, a Biden-era policy that allowed migrants into the country for temporary residence and work authorization while they sought permanent citizenship. The Biden administration said in October they wouldn't extend people's legal status beyond 2 years, and applications to the program were suspended in February after Trump took office. He cut the policy by executive order Friday, forcing those 500,000 migrants to leave the country. Beginning late next month, they will have to either report themselves for deportation or face arrest. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo shows us the situation.
More than 500,000 migrants who sought to escape turmoil in their home countries are being forced to leave the U.S. after they came in legally. The Biden administration called the program a success because it reduced the amount of illegal border crossings while people pursued legal entry. But many say it circumvented congressional immigration limits and had instances of fraud. When Trump took office, he suspended all applications for benefits to those who applied under the CHNV program. Now he's getting rid of the program altogether. One local attorney says the CHNV program was a completely legal process, and those who applied for it are now being targeted as a priority for deportation.
They presented themselves, they met the qualifications, and they did quote unquote the right way, where people tell, where a lot of things we see in the media where people say they're fine with people coming if they do it legally. Well, this was a program that was legal. So these individuals are still being treated as if, as those that came in unlawfully.
And Unique Dunstan in Albertville tells us it's going to impact North Alabama's workforce and local communities as these people are removed.
Schools and churches will lose members of their communities, affecting their social and cultural life as well. Not to mention the mental impact that this will have on the migrants themselves. It will be a very stressful time.
And attorney Samantha Armstrong explains that stress, saying the order takes away the time migrants had to plan new lives in the U.S.
They were given that 2 years of parole status, and they were probably planning their and their families' lives with that in mind, especially after they enter lawfully and have that work authorization. Now they are having to pivot to suddenly becoming targets for removal and trying to figure out, how to protect themselves in that way. So they're having a mental shift from being in a kind of a protected status for those 2 years to now being a priority.
In the studio, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
The attorneys tell us there aren't many alternate routes to take to protect yourself. However, Ruby Adams says you should still consult an attorney because every situation is different. The other hope is for someone to file a civil lawsuit that freezes the order. A major road project in Madison is finally finished after years of work. Just take a look. This is what you're about to see. Here it is, the I-565 overpass. Here's a video of it at Town Madison on the exit ramp heading west. The overpass opened today, allowing for traffic from the westbound lane of the interstate to enter and exit Town Madison and Toyota Field. Madison Mayor Paul Finley says the opening of the full interchange is for more than just smoother traffic during baseball games.
The possibility of the FBI or Space Command. FBI is already coming. When Space Command comes, we certainly better have more opportunity to get people on and off the arsenal. This helps us get to Gate 7 and get out of Gate 7 to where the folks need to go. This is a huge win for our city, for our community, and I am so proud as mayor to be a part of a team that helps to open this up.
He says it's a huge win, and he also asked the public to be patient as drivers adjust to the new overpass. The Alabama Senate unanimously passed Senate Bill 252. It's more commonly known as the Community Pharmacy Relief Act. It will bring more regulations for pharmacy benefit managers in the state, and Gabe Glassman has more on how it could affect costs for consumers.
The Community Pharmacy Relief Act will bring more regulations for pharmacy benefit managers. These PBMs are a middleman between health insurance companies and pharmacists. The piece of legislation also introduces us to spread pricing. The Alabama Pharmacy Association, who has been heavily pushing for PBM regulations, says proposed changes would bring more balance between the two parties.
Anything overpaying comes down, anything underpaying comes up, and it levelizes everything out. So it does not add. A lot of times it's going to reduce what's being paid. It limits what a pharmacy can make on a prescription.
But opponents of the bill disagree on the impact.
So how can these bills currently in the Alabama Senate and House either positively or negatively affect consumer costs?
It's going to drive consumer costs up permanently. This is a permanent fee that will never go away, and it will only go up. It sets a floor for reimbursement for pharmacists. As costs go up on healthcare, which they do because of the drug manufacturers' cost, that employers are going to be concerned and may make changes in their plans that are going to affect families. Changes like higher copays or higher premiums. And in the worst case scenario, an employer may simply just do away with their health insurance plan.
The Alliance of Alabama Healthcare Consumers argue SB 252 would bring another charge for consumers.
This legislation is extremely expensive because primarily it includes a new $10.64 dispensing fee that would be added on to every prescription that is filled if someone is getting their insurance benefits through their employers.
But the APA says that's not fully the case.
We were very specific to put in this legislation that any change in the cost of dispensing could not be passed on to the patient or the consumer. This does not add to any prescription. This changes the way a prescription is reimbursed.
SB 252 is now halfway to the governor's desk, now pending approval from the House Insurance Committee. In Huntsville, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
We've previously reported on Alabama Senate Bills 93 and 99, which have similar goals to the Community Pharmacy Relief Act. Alabama Senate Bill 252 is essentially a combination of the two pieces of legislation. Organizers of a nationwide protest hope to get demonstrators to each and every Tesla showroom in the country this Saturday, supercharging stations too. A rally urging Tesla owners to give up their cars and stockholders to dump their stock. They're calling it the Tesla Takedown, the latest in a series of actions targeting Department of Government Efficiency leader and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Organizers calling for a peaceful protest, but instances of vandalism and property destruction have put some Tesla owners on edge. Fox 54's Gabe Glassman spoke with one of them about the concern.
From spray-painted graffiti in Las Vegas to keyed doors in Wichita and burned Cybertrucks in Seattle, destructive incidents involving Teslas have been reported across the United States. But Tesla Takedown protest organizers say they don't condone any of these violent acts.
Tesla Takedown at its core is a movement that is aiming to get out a message in a peaceful, nonviolent way to folks about what Elon Musk and Doge are doing in our government.
Natasha Purdom sold her Tesla as part of the movement and is organizing a protest in New Jersey.
For me, it really started with the Sig Heil that Elon Musk gave on January 20th. Just felt like it's not a brand image that reflects who I am and who I want to be.
While all of these events are happening across the country, one local Tesla owner says him and his family have been receiving hate just for getting behind the wheel of a car with this logo on it.
You see it nationwide, but it's different once it hits home.
Armando Torres says other drivers haven't been too kind to his family when they're in their Tesla Model 3.
Had a little bit of an incident with my wife on my Tesla vehicle while she was driving my son to school, being flicked off, being called all kinds of names, vulgar with my son in my vehicle. So it kind of raised awareness for myself.
This incident, one of a few his family has experienced in the past couple of weeks. Torres believes it's a bit unfair for him and some other Tesla owners to be targeted just for owning a car.
I just got the vehicle because I thought it was a good piece of machinery. We kind of have made it into a community of looking out for each other. There's forums kind of like stating, hey, avoid these certain areas, and it's sad that it has to come to that.
But Torres wishes there was more he could do to hold others accountable for their vulgar actions. In Huntsville, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
FBI Director Kash Patel announced earlier this week they would be looking into these crimes against Teslas happening across the country. As for the Tesla takedown, there's no planned gathering at this time set for Huntsville. Huntsville City Council has voted unanimously to expand the city's limits, approving 2 annexations that add more than 110 acres to the Rocket City. One annexation covers more than 20 acres north of Miller Lane, while the other adds nearly 92 acres north of Bibb Garrett Road in Limestone County. Huntsville's Urban and Economic Development Director Shane Davis spoke more about plans for the newly annexed land in Hampton Cove.
The petitioner's plan is for single-family detached neighborhood, future development similar to the one you see to the left of the screen, but coming in for public schools and city services.
Both ordinances were introduced on March 13th. They follow the January edition of 394 acres in Limestone County back in January. Huntsville International Airport opened its new concourse connector today to start a new phase in its concourse revamp project. The concourse connector doubles the number of elevators and escalators for passengers. The connector now adds new exit lane gates, providing another security measure to prevent anyone from entering the concourse via the exit. Mary Swanstrom with Huntsville International says more is coming sooner than later under the revamp project.
Our passengers have really wanted a Starbucks coffee for a long time. We're finally able to offer that to them. It's going to be located down near Gate 10 at the far end of the concourse, and right adjacent to it will be Interstellar Pizza. And that's going to provide wood-fired pizza and some beverages, and it's going to be a really nice place. When those open, then the other restaurant, which is mid-concourse, will be closed for renovation.
Some pretty cool additions. Huntsville International is in the running for USA Today's 10 Best Small Airport contest. Nearly 100 kids in Decatur were gifted with bicycle helmets today. It's all thanks to the Pilot Club of Decatur in partnership with the Decatur Police Department. The helmets were given out to students at Oak Park Elementary School this afternoon. Members with the Pilot Club of Decatur say they want to make sure children have a helmet while also having fun.
We're all about preventing brain injuries and helping keep the children safe. So we want them to all have a bicycle when they're riding. I also tell them to use them during a severe storm, to have them nearby, because that can protect their head.
Children are out riding their bikes on streets. You never know when there's going to be an accident, and we want to make sure that every child in Decatur has a bicycle helmet.
Yeah, proceeds for the helmets come from the Pilot Club of Decatur's golf tournament, and that is May 17th at Point Mallard Golf Club. More information about how to register will be forthcoming. Limestone County canines will be rocking new armor soon. Eris, Haas, Pedro, and Seiko are receiving custom bullet and stab protective vests courtesy of Vested Interests in Canines, Inc. Each vest will be embroidered with a tribute to Arthur L. Zimmerman. Each of the vests is valued at $1,800. Limestone County Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin says these vests will provide essential protection for their canines who put their lives on the line daily to keep the community safe.
Well, the notorious DOG Animals Rescue Group had an open house today in their brand new facility on Stroke Street. Organizers called it their Spring Fling. And the whole point was to connect people and local organizations with the animals that needed a home. The group largely focuses on rehabbing and adopting pit bulls, but they also work with plenty of other animals and shelters and keep them from being euthanized. It's all to reduce the stray dog population in North Alabama, which owner Jamie Finley calls a crisis.
High-risk dogs for euthanasia or for just for being neglected, abused. We take dogs from those situations. We kind of rehab them, work with them. We have one right now that we've been working with for about 9 months, and we just gotten to where we can pet him. We're in a crisis in the South. No doubt about it. I mean, we, Huntsville Animal Services is full. We're full. Everybody that we know is full.
The Dog Rescue is a no-kill shelter, meaning they keep the dogs until someone adopts them. And they're always in need of donations. If you're interested in helping out, you can find a link to them on our website. Visit FOX54.com.
Legislation has been reintroduced in Montgomery by lawmakers that would limit protests in front of homes. The proposed bill is back and was first introduced in 2018 by State Senator Arthur Orr. Senate Bill 247 would limit protests in front of residential areas from 30 minutes after sunset till 30 minutes before sunrise. Orr told Fox 54 that the bill is not targeting people over protesting, but for safety.
What if I want to leave my house? Can I get out of my driveway with 200 people camped out right there on the sidewalk, angry at me, hating me, yelling obscenities at me or my family? What if we have a medical emergency and need an ambulance to come in, or we need to get to the hospital? Whatever the reason, is this something we want to allow unfettered in the 21st century?
Orr told Fox 54 that he plans to reintroduce the bill next session if it fails, stating he thinks the bill will be looked back at fondly.
Again, why are we protesting at people's houses? And this bill is not for elected officials only, but as people get more and more angry and able to assemble angry crowds via social media, I think people years from now will look back and say, boy, I wish we had that law on the books.
Orr added that the bill would not impact demonstrators protesting in public areas or buildings.
The Florence Arts and Museums worked with the Muscle Shoals National Heritage Area and local artisans to bring people back to their roots through one forgotten craft, soap making. Mothering Herbs showed off several styles and techniques, providing field-tested recipes to bring back the tradition to North Alabama. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo takes us out to the shows to learn how.
Right behind me here in Florence is the historic Pope's Tavern, where they're holding a workshop today on how to make homemade soap the traditional way. Organizers at the event tell me skills like this bring back parts of Alabama's history that we've forgotten about with mass manufacturing. It's a history that goes back to ancient Egypt and continued well into the 20th century. Organizers picked Pope's Tavern, an old Civil War hospital, to show the settings many people lived in when they made soap for themselves.
This would have been something that people did in that time period, and that would have been the only way they would have been able to provide things like soap. And so a lot of the other things that we've done too, would have been this small scale manufacturing, the domestic manufacturing. This is something that would have happened in this area. This is something that people would have participated in.
And the soap maker herself, herbalist Summer McCrellis, says anyone can do it for themselves. In addition, it gives you the creative freedom you wouldn't otherwise find in the store.
Soap can be made by anybody. There is great value to being able to make your own soap and any product. It gives you self-esteem and that pride in the product, that you know exactly what ingredients are in there. So if you buy the organic essential oils, you know exactly what fragrances are in there, or if you don't want them, you can mix and match. You can add different colorants like clay and create a beautiful product that you feel safe using with your family.
If you want to make soap for yourself, all you need is lye, water, fragrance, and some animal fat or vegetable oil. Just be careful handling the lye and do some research before you dive in. In Florence, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
All right, thank you, Caleb. You can also learn how to make soap at their next workshop. Florence Arts and Museum puts this on every year, and they provide other DIY workshops too. Just check out their event calendar on their webpage, and you can find that on our website, fox54.com. Straight to L donned the orange and green today for the delayed St. Patrick's Day celebration of their own. If you remember last weekend, the city's parade was canceled on the account of severe weather. So the local brewery partnered with the Irish Society of North Alabama to host a smaller event to close out the week. Organizers packed the weekend full of events so people can come out and enjoy the good weather this time around. Take a listen.
Let's be honest, St. Patrick's Day is sort of the Black Friday for the bar community, and as a brewery, embracing such a fantastic festivity and to have so much fun while doing it is pretty much what Straight to Ale is all about. I'm excited to see people enjoying this lovely weather that we have, and the fact that we've got this other entertainment going on is really nice, but really just to bring some joy in this world right now, with this weather, with this entertainment, with our beer, is a good feeling.
And it's just not Irish dancing. They also had a professional bagpiper and a small parade of their own. They'll be continuing the party well into the tonight with specials on food and drinks.
Well, meet Jay. He's been building Lego models for nearly 20 years, and now residents at the range can view his collection in the activity room. From the Notre Dame Cathedral to a Harley-Davidson, Jay has built it all. He's currently working on a replica of the Titanic, which he says is his most difficult yet. His favorite, though, is an R2-D2 model from Star Wars. And, of course, he's based here in Madison. That's pretty cool and very intricate, I might add.
These people, I like to think I have a certain level of patience. These people have a level of patience that I will never be able to achieve. And by these people, I mean these folks that can build those really intricate Lego designs.
Yeah, lots of patience, lots of creativity, but at the end of the day, it's got to be fulfilling to put things out like that and then get rewarded for it too.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how long it took for him to build all of that.
I am very excited to see his Titanic, which I imagine is going to take a significant amount of time, mostly because I have seen the Titanic on the TikToks and the YouTubes and the whatnots, and it is an incredible feat to build the Titanic.
Puzzles are good too. Aren't you into puzzles?
Oh, I love a good puzzle, but my patience tends to wear thin on that as well.
Hey everyone, one of the premier events of the summer that combines sports and charity is the Boys and Girls Club Leaders and Legends Banquet at the VBC. Through the years, we've seen Shaquille O'Neal, Evander Holyfield, Cam Newton, Charles Barkley, and Jerry Rice come to the Rocket City, and this year they'll be joined by another Pro Sports Hall of Famer. Allen Iverson will make his way to the Rocket City on July the 10th. Iverson, the 2001 NBA MVP, actually grew up going to the same Boys and Girls Club in Virginia with his childhood friend, Michael Vick. Patrick Wynn, the president of the Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama, feels that Iverson may have the most impactful message to the youth ever.
Allen Iverson, he embodies the message that we got to try to get out to our kids. You know, despite your odds, you still can be successful if you stay the course and stay on the right path. And so he'll do that for our kids.
He grew up in the clubs. They say, you know, the clubs helped shape him and almost save his life. So I think that attraction will be great for everybody to hear his story.
And we got some breaking news. The FOX54 sports team has just confirmed with Dr. Paul Bryan of Alabama A&M that men's basketball coach Otis Hughley Jr. has resigned from his position. During his time on the Hill, he went 37-63 overall, 25-29 in SWAC play. He also won 2 SWAC tourney games in his first 2 seasons.
Crimson Tide men's basketball wasn't the only Alabama connection in Cleveland this weekend, as the Yellowhammer State's long music history has a place in the American Songbook and Cleveland's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Working your way through the museum, you begin with a little history lesson, learning about the first sounds of rock and roll. Willie Mae Thornton, better known as Big Mama Thornton, was an early icon. The Ayrton native famously recorded a version of Hound Dog in 1952. This was years before Elvis Presley's rendition of a rewrite was his first breakthrough hit. Thornton was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2024. Visitors are later greeted on the first floor by another South Alabama artist, arguably the state's most famous audio export. Hank Williams was one of the first country superstars. On display is a striped suit and sheet music for his 1948 hillbilly gospel, I Saw the Light. Williams was inducted to the Hall in 1987. 3 years before Williams' induction was a milestone for pop music. The year of 1984 has its own exhibit. It was the year MTV went nationwide. Purple Rain and Born in the USA, among a slew of other albums, were released. The Jacksons had their victory tour. And Tuskegee native Lionel Richie closed out the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles wearing this bedazzled jacket. Richie himself was put in the Hall in 2022. Other standalone pieces on display throughout the museum include a sign from Muscle Shoals Fame Records. And in the Motown section, the Temptations are placed prominently. Town Creek native Ali Woodson spent 12 years with the group in the 80s and 90s. They were enshrined in 1989. Athens native Brittany Howard of the modern roots rock band Alabama Shakes has a guitar up in the women's history section. Howard and bandmates Zach Cockrell and Heath Fogg all met as students in the Athens city school system. Just like the history of rock and roll itself, the sound of Alabama's music blends inspiration, expression, and imagination. In Cleveland, Ohio, Simon Williams, Fox 54 News.
Wow, what a way to represent Alabama and North Alabama at that. Count on Fox 54 Sports to bring you more March Madness coverage over the weekend as the Tide and Tigers continue their push for glory. And there's so much more in store for you on Fox 54 Plus, including press conferences, locker room interviews, and other exclusive content. Be sure to download to your TV and watch for free. For everyone at Fox 54 News, I'm Kenesha Dees. Have a good and safe weekend.